Lately, we've been seeing more and more of the use of DUI checkpoints by local police departments in their efforts to enforce DUI laws. DUI checkpoints are typically a situation where the police scout out an area ahead of time, usually on a major road that has a lot of traffic on it, and they have some officers stopping cars that are going in through the road and others in a staging area nearby who are dealing with the people that they decide to pull out for further investigation, and still further some other officers who are operating a portable breath testing machine to test people that they arrest. Now, the first thing you need to know about DUI checkpoints is that if you attempt to avoid one, there are usually officers circling the area who are going to try and make a traffic stop on anybody that they see turning away from the checkpoint. They can't stop you for not going through the checkpoint, but they can stop you for any traffic violation. So if you see a checkpoint and turn off to try and avoid it, you should be very careful that you follow all traffic laws. Use your turn signals, don't speed, don't go over the yellow line, or commit any other traffic violation, or it's very likely that there's an officer nearby who's going to be trying to make a traffic stop on you. For people that do go through the DUI checkpoint, the first thing that's going to happen is they will be met by a police officer who will ask them for a driver's license and ask some basic questions such as, where are you going, what have you been doing, and have you had anything to drink? You don't have to answer any of these questions. Many people who have consumed a few beers or had a few drinks will usually tell an officer, I've had 2 beers, no matter how much they've had. The correct answer is to say, I don't want to answer any questions. This can't be used against you, and you have an absolute right to do so. If the officer asks for your identification, which you are required to give him, and then you don't answer any further questions, he is now faced with the decision of letting you go or asking you to do some field sobriety tests or a further investigation. If he decides to do that, what he'll normally do is ask you to get out of your car and have you go to an area nearby where some other officers will request that you perform field sobriety tests. These tests are difficult to do under the best of circumstances, and many people can't do them at all, period. So it is to your advantage not to do them. The officers will usually couch it in terms of, I'm going to give you these tests and see if you're okay to drive. But if you don't do well on them, it's only going to be to your disadvantage. So the best decision there is to refuse to do field sobriety tests. So let's walk through this scenario again. If a person is stopped at a checkpoint and they haven't admitted to drinking, they haven't done any field sobriety tests, and the officer has not observed any driving since they were just going through a checkpoint, they weren't swerving, they weren't doing any of the other typical things that the police pull people over for, that officer is now faced with a decision whether or not to arrest them with very little evidence. If he does arrest them, a good attorney can challenge that it was done so without probable cause, and if that's the case, then any evidence they get from that will be thrown out and the case will likely be dismissed.